Welcome to Psychic Evolution with evidential psychic medium Jamie Clark and spiritual coach and healer Maggie Clark.
Welcome back to another episode of Psychic Evolution. I'm Jamie Clark.
And I'm Maggie Clark, and this is a podcast where you discover the psychic potential within to empower yourself and manifest your psychic and mediumship gifts.
And these abilities are so natural, they're supernatural.
Awesome. And today we want to explore from fear to empowerment, the tarot, because what we see a lot is that people get afraid of these cards. There's a lot of old movies that have the crazy death card that shows up and then someone dies in the movies, and so many people get scared of some of the images that are on the tarot. So we really want to explore different aspects of the tarot cards that have a bad reputation, that have a bad stigma, that have been portrayed in a negative light that doesn't allow us to really explore the depths and the really magic of these cards that allows us to feel empowered in life instead of disempowered. So many times I'll be throwing down cards doing a reading and a card will come up like the death card and I'll gasp and I'll go, and it's just funny because they're like, oh no. And I'm like, oh yes, it's going to be that amazing. And I like to, first of all, I like to joke around with those types of cards to let them know this is not a bad card, because when they see death, when they see the devil, when they see the tower, when they see the hanged man, these are the top four, by the way, something gets caught in their chest. And immediately I want to address that as a tarot reader so they don't shut down, because if they all of a sudden go into a place of fear, then they're not going to receive the beauty of the message of these cards. Each and every one of these major arcana cards open and unlock keys to who you are as a soul. They are designed to work with the subconscious, the conscious, the superconscious mind, and the collective consciousness of humanity through the archetype images. They are meant to stimulate and to activate you into who you are. That's why the tarot was created. It was created to activate and to stimulate you into questioning who you are and discovering who you are and unlocking the keys to the mystery and the majesty of life.
And so from learning to work with the tarot, did you have a perspective like myself of the old school to go, oh my God, that's crazy? And how did you get the insight and overcome that?
I actually didn't have that, to be honest with you. I don't know why I didn't have that. I was curious about the death card, but I wasn't afraid of it. And the first deck that I learned from was so positive. And so it really opened me up. And the first reader I had was my mentor, and he was very empowering with all of his messages. So I never really got a bad reputation of any of the cards to overcome within my own psyche. So when I started with a deck called Tarot of the Spirit, and it is by Pamela Eakins. And it's a wonderful deck. The foundation of it is based off the Kabbalah as well as traditional tarot, but it has a really, really rich and super positive energy around that deck. So the first deck that I was introduced to that I chose to work with was really positive. And the book that accompanies this deck is amazing. It was a great resource to really start studying the tarot and integrate that tarot in a very positive way. So my first experience with tarot was in the middle of this beautiful field. I was at Allerton Park in Illinois, and it's a beautiful park with lots of gardens and sculptures, and we were sitting by the sun god sculpture, and it was a gorgeous day. This was in 1994, and my spiritual awakening happened this year in 1994. And so this was just a magical summer of awakening. And then it moved into, finding my mentor and starting to study and really directing myself onto a spiritual path. So in 1994, my friend had a deck of tarot cards, and she threw down cards, and there was 3 of us there, and we all started exploring this. And I looked at these cards. I was like, this is amazing. What are these things? I need this in my life. There was something that I loved about the cards, something I loved about receiving messages and divining messages for yourself. And I was just so excited. I mean, I don't know how long it took me to get a deck. I'm sure, it's not as easy back then as it is now. I had to like find the bookstore to find that had the deck, and they didn't have Amazon back then. The internet wasn't even a thing. So we literally had to I had to, basically search it out. So within a couple weeks, I'm pretty sure that I had this deck in my hands that I fell in love with. So it was magical. It was just amazing.
I think it's great when you can teach yourself along the way. And sometimes being very much aware of the old parameters, the old perspective, and giving the empowerment of the new one to change as a different vantage point of knowledge. Because sometimes people are afraid of what they'll hear from the readings. When you're reading for somebody, of course you tailor make it to them, but do you have different ways to approach circumstances with different people?
Absolutely. And first and foremost, choosing a tarot reader that vibes with your energy is really important. I'm a super positive person. I like the upbeat. I like empowerment. I dig into issues. Trust me, we all have issues. Okay. I've got a ton of them. And I've used the tarot to help me work through my issues and become more aware of them. So it's been very much a tool that I've used for self study and self growth. And so I've always approached the tarot from a self growth, self empowerment vantage point. And I bring that into all of my readings, no matter what. I want to really explore how we can develop spiritually, how we can develop and grow through life, and how we can transverse this life with positive and empowering energy. So when a card comes up like death, which everybody's afraid of, oh my God, am I going to die, or is someone going to die? Okay, I'll take that back. Not everybody's afraid of death. Some people really love death. But what I must say is that this is the biggest card with the biggest stigma, because it means that potentially someone can die. But that is not ever how I will read that in a reading. In fact, I chose a long time ago that I will not read about when someone is going to die. It's not something that I address. It's not something I talk about, because it doesn't matter. Your time is your time. That's between you and your soul. Whether I feel that or not makes no difference. It's just not something I talk about. So when the death card comes up, what really, really it signifies is freedom. Think about that freedom, because the death card has the skeleton usually. Okay, every deck has different interpretations, but usually there's a skeleton, the death. Sometimes he's on a horse, sometimes he's, depicted other ways. But what this means, the skeleton of death, is all about only taking forward with you in life that which is the bare bones of who you are. Remember, you never lose who you are. You never let go of who you are. You're always going to be who you are. But we do let go of habits, patterns, conditionings, issues, fears, traumas. We can let go of all kinds of things. And on the other side of that is freedom. And so also the bones in Jin Shin Jitsu, which is a Japanese healing art, when you study Jin Shin Jitsu, which is fabulous, by the way, you will discover that bones represent your spiritual inheritance. And so that is what you carry with you always, who you are eternally, who you always will be spiritually. And so when you let things go at death, you're letting go of things that you no longer need in your life or want in your life. It's a letting go process that frees you to be your authentic and spiritual self going forward. It is one of the most empowering cards, because you are now the butterfly coming out of that cocoon and letting go of that cocoon, letting go of the caterpillar stages, letting go of the old life, and really moving into being free and being able to fly and soar and expand in life. It's one of the most beautiful stages. So when the death card comes up, instead of being afraid that someone's going to die or something bad is going to happen or that something's going to hurt you, think about what can you let go of in your life that you no longer need. It might be a bad habit. It might be a fear that you've been working on. It might be something you're worried about. It could be someone or something in your life that you no longer resonate with. So think about what you want to let go of, because on the flip side of that, all you're going to do is find who you are authentically.
Were you able to start reading for yourself immediately when you started doing readings?
I did. I didn't waste any time. I actually, as soon as I got my deck, I opened it up, I shuffled, I did a spread that was in the front of the book saying, hey, do this spread. This card position means, I don't remember which spread I did at the beginning. I think I did every single spread that was in that book because I was exploring how it worked. And yeah, I started reading for myself, but I also started reading for others right away. I didn't waste time because I thought this is so cool. Everyone's going to think this is so cool. Everybody needs to have a reading. And of course, I didn't, I wasn't charging money or anything like that. It was just for my friends. I'm like, hey, let's throw down some cards. Let's, have a good time. And this is how I explored the tarot. I explored it with anyone I could read for, any one of my friends. They always succumb to my woes and wishes of tarot readings, which most of my friends were into that, like attracts like. It was really cool. And then and then you explore from there. And when I met my mentor, I had already had a deck of cards for months and months and months. And he was my first tarot reading of my life that was given to me professionally, besides just my friend introducing me with the tarot that first time in Allerton Park. And that transformed my life. That reading completely transformed my view of my life, my soul purpose, why I was here, who I was, what I could accomplish this lifetime, energetics around this time frame of history and why I would choose to come here as a soul. It was so transformative and so empowering. I said, I need to learn this. And I started studying with him. And so he would hold classes and I was able to sit in all the classes. I was able to sit in on thousands and thousands of readings that he did as I was his apprentice on some level and really learning from him. And it was an amazing way to study.
Did you begin to get other people in your life, new friends, new connections because of being on that channel of the tarot and receiving information? And as I keep going, were you able to use the tarot for maybe an upcoming event or an upcoming connection with somebody to find out how that circumstance might go?
Well, it's really interesting. I didn't use the tarot for future predictive things for events and patterns until I would guess about 10 years after I'd started working with the tarot.
Why?
Why? Because it wasn't interesting to me. What was interesting to me was self-development, self-growth, like connecting to my spirituality, the things that I could really feel into my life. I wasn't wanting my life to change. I was very happy with the way my life was, so I didn't ask predictive questions. Every spread that I do has an outcome position. So in that sense, in that regard, I was looking towards what can I gain from going from A to Z? Like if I go through this energetic path, the most likely predictive outcome would be the outcome position. So in the sense, yes, I always looked at outcomes. So which is a future prediction, but I didn't target jobs and works and relationships and like where it was going to go predictively. I would look at where those situations were affecting me on a spiritual level right here, right now. So I focused a lot more on spiritual development than anything else. And that's my preference to this day. My best clients, the ones that I love to work with the most, are asking me how to improve themselves because that in the grand scheme of things, that's where all the good stuff is. If you know yourself and you can be what you find within, you will find the empowerment of life and you can live a beautiful, amazing, loving, and happy life. As long as you're honest with yourself and, and you can move forward. And that's some of the reasons we use the tarot or the oracle decks is to get an observing, honest perspective on what it could look like or what the energy signatures are that are happening around us.
I want to touch on the tower.
Oh, yeah.
Are these things crashing? And was there a potential that before 9/11, if you were picking up the tower, did anyone tend to associate the potential to go, that's weird? That tower thing was crashing down, and then the Twin Towers crashed down. Or did that not even enter the picture?
That was definitely not a prediction that I made or anyone else in my environment made. No, it wasn't. That is a sudden, unexpected event, though. So that would be a tower moment for humanity, especially for people in America and for, all the people that had to go through that experience and that were very close to that experience in New York. So some tower moments can be extreme. Another reason the tower has a bad reputation is because it represents sudden, unexpected events. Now, the tower card came up before my house flooded. I mean, it came up before certain events in my life that were very transformative. So there are times that it can be somewhat predictive of things coming up. But what the tower does is it shakes up the foundation of your psyche, most importantly. The tower itself represents your psyche, the structure that you build your mind and your consciousness around. So, this is your imprinting, this is your conditioning from childhood, the social, cultural conditioning, religious conditioning, any conditioning from your parents to your teachers to your siblings, especially when you are young. As you grow up, you build up these walls called the tower. You build a home for yourself that you feel comfortable in, or that is you take on because of the culture and the time frame that we're born into. And this creates a psyche, and it creates the tower, which is basically a manifestation of how you perceive your reality and how you can live in that reality. Now, when lightning strikes the tower, because the tower card has lightning that strikes the tower, and people usually falling out of the tower, with them going, I'm kicked out of the tower, right? It's literally that lightning are flashes of insight or sudden unexpected events or an awakening of life force energy or kundalini within you. There's a lot of things that lightning can represent, but all of a sudden, a flash of insight. Ooh, this is not who I really am. I am more than what I created so far in my psyche or in my conditioning. So I can break free with that insight, with that flash, with that lightning, which all of a sudden, think about lightning, it just electrifies the whole sky and lights it up all of a sudden, right? You're like, boom. And all of a sudden you can see everything clearly for just a moment, and then it's gone. But in that moment of clarity, in that moment of that unexpected event or the flashes of insight, I also call this the psychic 2x4. In those flashes of insight, you see where you have outgrown your psyche or your conditioning or the culture that you were born into, and you can be free of it. And you step outside of that tower. You get thrown out because the lightning crashes the tower to the ground. Everything crumbles around you. You get thrown out of the tower, and you are left naked, alone, with nothing but your authentic self. It's a most beautiful card. It signifies rapid change and growth because all of a sudden, all the work that you have done to this point to undo the imprinting and the conditioning that's not who you really are, but that we take on because we have to. It's part of the human experience. All of the work that you did, to undo it, all of a sudden it pays off right here. And you find freedom and you come out of hiding. We hide in our psyche. We hide behind our walls, behind our tower, so that we feel safe and secure. But what if we could come out of hiding and step free into the world and be our true self and express our true self? What if we could do that? The tower is so freeing. This is why it signifies rapid change and growth and movement. So it's a very beautiful card to propel us forward in life, to help us come out of hiding, come out of our insecurities, come out of an imprinting or a conditioning that you don't believe. If you have strong, like I'll take an example of strong religious conditioning, because a lot of people do undo this type of conditioning when they recognize, I don't really believe that, or it doesn't really ring true to me. So when people shift that perspective, they take with them what they do believe, they take with them their own truth, their own self in that, but they undo the imprinting and the conditioning of their cultural programming or their childhood programming, and they step out of that and they're free of it. because you've done all the work up to that point. Realize that the Tower card is the number 16. That's a 1 plus a 6, which equals a 7. 7 always represents a level of mastery. So this is a blessing. This is a gift saying you deserve this next level of mastery over your authentic self, to be free of where you used to hide from the world, where you hid from yourself.
With the numbers, the 7, I'm like, oh, I was just looking at my soul print number, and I was looking at yours too. And on mine, there's a 777 point whatever it is. I'm like, that's interesting. So not that I'm mastering everything, but in that way, my soul print already is dedicated to life experience and, hopefully wisdom to know that knowledge and share it. For you, in reading for someone, how much did it affect the person from one perspective of the old scary thing of the cards to the different way of seeing things with how you share it? And has that reading in any way ever triggered somebody to do something that they really wanted to do, that gave them the guts or the knowingness that they could do it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because when you hear a perspective that empowers you and doesn't create fear, you're empowered. If you accept it as your reality, you are empowering yourself. Now, I can just share a perspective. That's all any reader can do, is share their own perspective, and then you take with it what you like, you throw away what you don't like, you work with what really resonates in your mind, and then you go forward. Going back to your sevens though, Jamie, so 777 is an amazing combination of numbers, and they're in the tarot with the Chariot of Temperance and then the Universe, the 3 octaves of mastery that are in the tarot. And you have 22 major arcanas, but from 1 to 7, the Fool is 0, so that's the 22nd card, or from 1 to 7, you have the Chariot, and then from 8 to 14, you have Temperance. And then from 15 to 21, you have the Universe. So these are 3 octaves of 7, but the Tower, because it reduces to a 7, also pulls in a level of mastery. The Chariot at the not the lower, but the first vibration of 7 that you see in the tarot is signifying forward movement just by the Chariot itself. It's a vehicle that moves forward. There's a lot more to that card, but that's all we're going to talk about right now. So what we see is that that theme of 7 will still be in the vibration of the Tower, of that rapid movement forward as well. And the 3 octaves of the 7 in the tarot is a very, very cool thing. And of course, if people are enjoying learning the tarot, we do have a program on our mystery school, and it's $25 a month. You cancel anytime, but there's a full, I don't know, there's probably at least 14 hours of tarot that you can watch. So just on learning the cards and a system of how you can learn them very easily. So if you want to check that out, check out our mystery school. We'll have a link in the show notes.
Well, as we're talking about the Tower, most people, as you were sharing, oh, Lordy, the flood happened. My thing is it could just as easily be a great thing, a positive thing, not necessarily a negative. Have you seen that through the years of being presented a certain way, that a lot of people would tend to see, oh, it's the Tower, it's going to be something negative?
Absolutely. And a lot of people who have gone through lots of unexpected changes, they see the Tower and they're like, oh my God, not again. I'm tired of this. Yet I look at everything perspectively. You can approach anything in life with fear or with a negative attitude, or you can approach it with love and empowerment and a positive attitude. I don't care what you're going through. Okay, now some of these life experiences are going to be very difficult, so I'm not negating hard life experiences. There's some stuff out there that's very, very difficult, but I do believe that when we can find our way to love, when we can find our way to empowerment, those unexpected life experiences that happen at the Tower can transform you and free you to be more of who you really are and not hide anymore from who you are. So again, some people do look at this Tower and go, oh, and they don't have a good feeling about it. And I'm not here to tell you you have to have a good feeling about the Tower, because a lot of unexpected events are very difficult challenges in life. But when we can get through those challenges and realize that everything happens for a reason and we have to make the best of what we have in front of us, one foot in front of the other, one breath at a time, one moment at a time. Once you know these cards, you're just receiving energy information. That's it. Every single card is an energy signature, and it has like a low side, a high side, and a million of different expressions of this energy in between. So you can, you can target what you're interested in targeting. And that's, again, this is why, finding a tarot reader or becoming the tarot reader that you're becoming, it's what do you want to focus on and what do you want to really work with? Because whatever you're drawn to and attracted to is usually the people that will be attracted and drawn to you as well. Now, some of the other cards that really have a bad reputation. Let's see, the next one is always the devil. The devil is the one that makes people cringe. So the devil has a really bad reputation because look at him. He's got horns. He's got usually two people in chains in front of him. And he's an interpretation of what we perceive as the devil. Okay, so I don't believe in the devil. I don't think the devil exists. I think that is a construct to create fear in humanity. So check it out. It was not in the Bible until many centuries after the Bible existed, and it was inserted there to help control the masses, in my opinion. So I'm just going to throw that out there. If you want to just explore more of that, you could check it out. But the devil itself represents places where we give our power away. He represents our issues, our fears, the things that we give power away to. Now, every time we have a reaction, we are giving our power away. Every time we can respond, we're claiming a place of empowerment to respond from this place. Now, the fears that we have around the devil, he represents our fears and the fears that keep us chained, that keep us locked, that keep us trapped. Now, if you look at a lot of the interpretations of the devil card through the symbolism, you'll see that these chains around their neck are so loose that they could just slip out of them once they know they can. So once you identify your issues, once you identify where you're giving away your power to fear, you can escape or be free of the devil that binds you. And it's a really interesting card because it does play on our psyche and our subconscious quite a bit. This collective consciousness of humanity has a fear of being controlled. So think about where you feel like you are giving your control or your power away to others or to a paradigm or to a thought or to a religion or to a culture or from your conditioning, from your parents, or whatever it might look like. And can you escape that? Of course you can. You are an eternal being. And when you realize you're eternal and you don't have to play by the rules, so to speak, you don't have to say, I'm buying into every cultural conditioning that I was raised with. That's not how we evolve humanity. We evolve because we escape those conditionings. We let go of them and say, I'm more than that. I don't have to be bound by that. I can be free of that constraint. And we have a lot of freedom now in our culture and in our world. And I want you to explore how you can escape your fear by identifying where you give your power away. Once you know where you give your power away, you can then choose not to. You can find a way through this. You don't have to constantly give your power away or be afraid in your life. Through love, through the self-work, through understanding who you are, and through realizing that you don't have to still play by the old paradigm, you can escape. The devil's a 15. It comes right before the tower, by the way, in the tarot. So once you identify where you give your power away, then all of a sudden these flashes of insight come. The life-transforming experiences that pull you out of the old paradigm, allow you to grow and expand and be free and come out of hiding and be who you are as an eternal soul print of consciousness here on earth. This is when you're going to start bringing heaven to earth. Once you get through these aspects of the tower and the devil, and then, of course, the star that comes after the tower. once you go into and you do all the work, this is where you free yourself to be eternal. You free yourself to be who you truly are. And you'll feel that deeply within who you are. So the devil, he's meant to be almost a parody of the Lover's card. They both resonate with the 6. The devil's a 15, so 1 plus 5 equals 6. And he literally looks exactly like the Lover's card from a different perspective. The Lover's card has usually an angel in front with a male and a female, representative sometimes of Adam and Eve, depending on how you portray this card, right? And they are in a unification, they are in a balance, they are discovering this union, the union and the, I call it the wholeness, right? And the devil, being a 6, is the same thing. You now have, instead of an angel, you have the devil. Instead of like a free male and female naked in the Garden of Eden, you have 2 people chained, so you're having the same 6 vibration. So we want to look at 6 as a number of peace. It's a number of harmony. It's a number of balance and unification through wholeness. So at the Lover's card, we're identifying how we polarize ourselves, the good Maggie and the bad Maggie, or the male and the female sides of the self. And then when we get to the devil, we're refining this. How did this relationship between our understanding of what makes us whole and complete in a place of balance and peace, we go a little bit deeper. We're now digging more into our issues, more into where we are not in balance, or where we're giving our power away to fear instead of love, hence the lovers, right? So again, this just comes full circle. And I remember reading for you a couple times, and you got the devil like several days in a row, and you started cringing. And I was like, honey, let's just look at this. How empowering is this energy right now? And so once we understand it's an empowerment, and we can grow through it, and that we're just like, we're healing our issues, we're healing our traumas of the past, we're healing our conditioning and our imprinting. This is a card that can really represent healing. It also will dig you into ancestral healing. How about your lineage? We carry energy from our ancestors. We carry energy of 2,000 years of working within a patriarchal system. So not only are you healing your own, you're healing thousands of years of something that didn't work well, or something that got damaged along the way, or something that created too much fear. And think about that. Like, think about the work that you're doing on yourself to heal, and how every time you heal, you're healing everything, because all time's happening now. So if you're healing ancestral lineage, you're healing your ancestors. You're healing thousands of years of a system that didn't work well. And it's so empowering.
With the enthusiasm that you share and the accuracy that you have there ever been clients that have come to you for a reading and loved it so much that they became professional?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of people that have learned from me and studied with me, and they go on to read professionally. Reading tarot is not a difficult thing. It's daunting when you look at 78 cards going, how am I going to remember 78 cards? I can't even remember my name. So how am I going to remember 78 cards? So it can be a little bit daunting, but there is a system behind the tarot when you learn that. It's based off of numbers and elements and archetype images, and when you study and you study and you study, you can really get some depth. And when you can relate it to your own life experience, when you have a relationship to every card in that deck, then you have a vantage point in which you can read from. And we all read from our own filtration system. We all have our own perspective, and every perspective is valuable. That's why anybody can read. You could pick up a deck of cards. You could look at one card and just say, what do I feel about this image? If I don't know the numbers, if I don't know the elements, and I'm just looking at a card, how does this make me feel? And then just write it down and then say, okay, and then reflect on that card. How is this a reflection of my life right now? And then go from there. You don't have to know anything to help to have these cards activate something within your psyche. So it's a nice thing about these cards.
Has there ever been a time that you've thought back and possibly maybe started picking up a lot of the tower cards, and then a month or a year later, a major earthquake happens? Did you ever pick up possibly any world experiences on a day to day basis that maybe you didn't realize, but a lot of clients kept pulling the same or similar card, and then looking back to go, that was weird. This past month, a bunch of people got the tower, and then all of a sudden that thing happened.
The answer would be no. What I have seen, Jamie, has been like, say I'm doing readings at a fair. So, you might do, 20 readings in a day and you just are throwing out cards. Usually there can be a theme that comes up. Like one card will come up a lot, like in over half the readings. And I'll be like, ooh, and sometimes even in the same positions. And so that happened, last Sunday we were at a fair. So yeah, that happened. I was like, okay, that card's coming up. There's a theme here. And what that tells me is there is a consciousness theme that is played out in the collective consciousness that is showing up again and again and again. So when I do go to fairs and do a lot of readings all at once, yes, I feel into a collective consciousness that says, okay, this is what humanity's processing right now. The other day when we were at this Phoenix Psychic Fair, judgment came up a lot. And this is about accepting soul responsibility. And this is about receiving messages about how to move forward. And it came up a lot in a challenge position for people. And I kept looking at this card in the same position going, okay, there is a collective consciousness theme that is showing up in this reading. And again, what I do with that for myself personally is okay, where am I stepping into new levels of responsibility for myself? Because this is a message for me too. If I'm noticing a pattern, and then to realize that a lot of people are feeling this way. So, and what does that mean for me? When I send energy and love to the world, I'm going to send energy and love with that awareness that I have that, okay, a lot of people are really trying to figure out why they're here. They're trying to figure out their soul purpose. This is part of what judgment process is. And so this is another scary card for some people, by the way, is judgment because of the word judgment. It's not if we're being judged good or bad. But what this card really allowed me to do is I send energy out. I say a prayer to the world. And if I have that conscious awareness that this is something that all of humanity, or at least what I'm seeing in my field of reality, is processing and exploring, then I just send a lot of love to help people embrace and understand what that means for them. In love for the best of all concerned, never an imposition, always just, a prayer almost for people to be able to embrace themselves with love through the understanding of what I feel that card could mean for a collective consciousness.
So, in doing a reading for somebody, were you able to give them information and in their own way spark their soul essence to get a different perspective on their spirituality and experience?
Absolutely. And that's what I like to focus on in my readings, Jamie. Absolutely. If you do a soul reading, like, discovering why you're here and the energy that you brought in with you, what you really wanted to accomplish, it's one of the most empowering readings. I mean, that's the reading I received that changed my life. Those are the readings that I offer now as part of, what I offer, as well as so many other things. You can get a reading for anything. And it's just it's a very rich experience when you can really connect with that information when it hits your heart and you're like, oh my gosh, someone understands me. I don't really understand what she said, but but I feel it. Again, this is something that we explore. The thing about the tarot is, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of these cards. These cards were meant to open up a pathway for you to live in an effortless reality where you're dancing your life into creation. Really, that's what these cards were designed to do, to help you through the trials and tribulations of being on this planet and being in our culture and being in our society and wanting to evolve and wanting to know who we are as an eternal being. It brings us back to ourselves.
Let's talk about the Hangman.
Ooh, another card that people sometimes worry about is the Hangman because he's hanging upside down. But I want you to realize the Hangman is a voluntary position. This is not like someone's going to hang you or you're going to be, hanging in midair and just in this place of
Strung up.
Strung up, exactly. It's more a voluntary position where you literally want to see life from a different perspective. So you crawl up that tree, you hang yourself upside down, and you're like, okay, I didn't see life from this perspective because my head was facing up and now my head's facing down. So the hangman offers you different perspectives on life. It's a very cool card and it's resonates with the number 12. So it comes right before death. It prepares you for death. It prepares you to let go of everything and anything you want to let go of because you're seeing life from a different vantage point. So it's a preparatory card. It's a card of stillness. It's a card of meditation. It's also a card that connects you back into your faith so that you can let go of anything that keeps you from thriving. And it's a beautiful card, actually. I find it when I see that card, I'm like, all right, I can gain a different perspective. And we all learn from other people's perspectives. But when we take that time to go into meditation, or we go into a place of stillness, or we go, let me just see something in a different way. And that's what meditation's for, right? To see something in a different way. Then we can go forward with that new understanding of, okay, what's going to be healthy for me, good for me? What do I really resonate with now? Shifting our perspectives shifts our lives. When I was younger, I thought I had a perfect life. I thought everything was perfect and fine and blah, blah, blah. And then I realized I had issues and I was like, whoa, okay, I have issues. That perspective changed my life. That perspective came about because I was willing to see something from a different point of view. Now, what did I have to let go of after that? A whole bunch of issues, fears, anxieties, insecurities, all the things I didn't want to feel anymore, all the things I didn't want to have in my life or be in my life. So the hangman prepares you by shifting perspectives. And sometimes that's offered from the outside world in, and sometimes that's offered through the inside world out. And it's a beautiful, beautiful card of introspection.
Have you ever been able to gain any insight to the cards for yourself of maybe other lifetimes that you were a reader or a healer or whatever the case might be?
Well, I know when I got introduced to the tarot, I've read cards before. I have connections to that time period of like H.B. Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley and the ODO, Paul Foster Case. I love that time period of tarot. It's the richest and it's the foundation of what we have today. So I know I've had lifetimes when I was reading. So the most important thing is let's take the fear out of the tarot and move into places of empowerment. If you are afraid of these cards, then maybe you'll use an oracle deck. But if you want to explore the deeper keys to unlock the mystery of your soul, the mystery of who you are, that is what the tarot was created for, and that's how the tarot can still be used today. So we want to take the time to wish everybody a happy Halloween. I hope you have a fun costume or a fun ritual that you do, or however you celebrate this time. It's a super fun holiday here in America. And it's also, the witch's new year. So if you want to learn more about Samhain, you can also listen to my other podcast, The Goddess, the Witch, and the Womb. It's a new podcast I have with two other people, Harmony and April, and they're amazing co-hosts. They come in with a much different skill set than I do, which is really fascinating. So if you're into more of the history of Halloween and Samhain, you can discover that on that podcast. And we wish everybody a beautiful, beautiful, happy Halloween. Let's get ghouly and spooky and let's leave food out for our loved ones.
Most importantly, have fun with your psychic evolution.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We are so grateful that you have taken the time to spend with us on our podcast today. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
And remember, these abilities are so natural, they're supernatural.
And if you want to have more fun with your psychic evolution, we do have a mystery school. Check it out. There'll be a link in your show notes, and you can join us and indulge in all our classes and become a part of the Psychic Evolution Inner Eye family. And if you feel like this podcast can help someone, please share it with a friend if you feel like it could help them grow and expand in their psychic evolution.
Until next time, have fun with your psychic evolution.